So you've got a big air compressor and you want to blow out your sprinkler system. Here are some steps to blow out the sprinkler system, what hoses and connections you can use as well, and a few tips. One thing to remember is having ear protection, safety glasses, and gloves. So why do you need such a big air compressor? Well, you could be using it on commercial projects. You could be doing a lot of blowouts. The best way to use a large air compressor is on large properties, commercial or residential. When you're using a large air compressor to blow out sprinkler systems, whether they're large sprinkler systems or small ones, the biggest difference is not only the air compressor, but the tools and air hoses. Those are very different from using the small electrical air compressors that are reciprocating. So with these air compressors that are much larger, the rotary screw pull behind ones, you're going to need a different set of tools and air hoses and connections. So let's get into those first, and then we'll get into the process of blowing the sprinklers out. And yes, my beard will change throughout the video, but it is what it is. I'm trying to find something I like, but anyway. So here's my box of air compressor goodies. These are all for that universal, that Chicago style or crowfoot, whatever you want to call it. These connections here, I've got all of them here, and I'll go into detail more about this later. But while I have this open, I want to show you this particular connection right here. This is a quick connect. Rainbird makes it, but there's other brands that make it. On some commercial systems, you need one of these, and there's a quick connector installed in the ground. This pushes down into, twists, and then you can connect here and blow the system out. Again, those are mostly used on commercial sites, and they're excellent, but they're not as common on the homes. Here's a smaller version of that key, but it is nice to have if you're doing commercial blowouts. Here are the hoses that I was talking about that are the Chicago style. They're much heavier duty. They will push out a lot more air, but they do take that Chicago style connection. And these usually are for compressors that are towed behind the truck or the vehicle. So it's nice to have at least probably 75 feet of this kind of hose in your truck. These are very different than what you would normally find at a hardware store. These kind of connections are difficult. You have to kind of go to a specialty store for that or order them online. But these are great because it doesn't matter what size hose you have, 1/2 inch, 3/4, 1 inch, the couplers are all the same size. These are good because it's just a simple quarter twist and it's locked together, it's sealed up, and then you twist them apart and they're good to go. The only one of the main differences is when this is disconnected, this is always open. Air will constantly blow out through it. So never disconnect them while the air is blowing through a hose. That is dangerous. Don't do that. I use these a lot. So this is probably the most common one I use, this connection. It has the spigot connection, the garden hose connection right here with a ring. I keep extra rings with me because these get lost often. So get a little bag of those seals. You will be happier if you do. But this connection right here swivels. You thread this right on, make your air hose connection, and it works fantastic. Now, when you are doing that, they recommend using a clip. When you connect to your hose, put it together, and then this pin goes through them. That way you can't twist them. They will never come apart on accident. Safety, keep this pin with you. This is the next most popular connection that I use. So it's just a 1/4 inch nipple, and this can be different lengths. And then here I have the test cock already connected. I keep it connected sometimes because you end up taking it on and off. I just usually keep it connected, but that's just 1/4 inch nail thread. And this is that test cock again there, that test part. So I keep this usually together. This is not recommended you blow out through the backflow or before the backflow, but sometimes it's the only way to do it without tearing into the backflow or cutting into the pipe. And although it's not recommended, I'm just being practical, and there are some sites, some locations that you have to do it through the backflow. That's why I'm showing you this. Not that I recommend it either, but I'm showing you how to do it. Whether you do it is up to you. If you're going to do it just once, you're probably going to be okay. If you're going to do it year after year or multiple times, I would recommend changing the connection. So adding a blowout after the backflow. Now, to turn off sprinkler systems, especially on commercial projects or larger homes, you might need a special key. There's a few varieties, but here's one long one, and this is what you have to pay attention to at the bottom, is how it fits to the key. Some of these stop and waste, some of them are boiler drains, so you just have to make sure what you're dealing with. So this one, for example, is more on a boiler drain that turns several times around to turn on or shut off. Or there's this type of curb key that has this notch here at the bottom, and this is more for a stop and waste, and this is just a quarter turn to turn it off or on. And a lot of these type of stop and waste valves, or these curb keys, also have an automatic drain that when they're shut off, they open and drain a little from the bottom. So you might not have to find another point to drain it at. My tip would be, if you've never been to the property before and you're not familiar with it, then maybe ask the property owner to see if they know where the shutoff is and where the drain is, because you want to make sure that you get it drained. Okay, so now that that's done, let's go ahead for the next step. Open all valve boxes, open any manifold drains. So next, shut off second valve on backflow. That's the one on the outlet side of the backflow. Then you connect the air hose after the backflow. This is important. Now that you've got the air hose connected after the backflow, and I recommend having at least one zone open, whether you use the clock to turn it on or manually, it's time to turn the air compressor on. Now, sometimes you have to use a key to turn on the ignition, or you can use just a button digitally. It depends on what compressor you have. So if you're renting one, ask who's renting it to you, how to turn it on, what they recommend. And if you own it, read the manual. There's different ways to do it that can extend the life of the air compressor. So get the air compressor turned on, and we'll go through each zone one by one, making sure that each zone is blown out completely. Now, as you're going through blowing out each zone, if you've left valve boxes open, go ahead and close those. We don't need a open hole out there and someone can trip in it, including yourself. So as you're going through the sprinkler system, close the boxes down as you don't need them. On some of these large air compressors, you can adjust it for the demand that you need, or it's kind of auto adjusting to where if one zone is quite a bit larger than the other, it will put out more air. And you can hear that when it's running. Sometimes the zone will turn on, you'll hear the air compressor kick on, and then you go to the next zone and it's larger and the RPMs go up. You can hear the machine work harder. Or if it's a smaller zone, sometimes you'll hear it slow down a little bit. Some of these large air compressors have a warm-up button, they call it. So after it warms up a little bit, you hit the button and it kicks up the power, and you can blow out large systems. But if you're using this large air compressor on small zones, or like a drip zone or something, what I've done before, and it works pretty well, is when you first turn the air compressor on, while it's still in that warm-up stage, blow out the system using that before you kick it on all the way. And that low amount of volume is better to blow out these drip systems or these small zones, because you're not putting out as much air and volume, and so there's less likely for damage. So keep it in that low, just kind of warm up on these smaller zones and drip zones. And then when you need to blow out the larger parts, hit that warm up button, kick it off, it will give you the air that it needs. Here's a pro tip. While you're blowing each zone out, you only have to do this once, but while the zone is running, I like to open a ball valve that blows air just a little bit back through the backflow. And what that does is that blows any trapped water out that wasn't drained before. Now, if you are blowing out through the backflow, you don't have to worry about it. But if you are connected after the backflow, just opening that second ball valve up a little bit to allow a little air back through, and it blows out the remaining water. Now that all the zones are completely blown out, it's time to turn off the air compressor. And usually it's recommended that you leave a valve open, whether it's the ball valve or it's the sprinkler valve, when you shut it off, to let the air bleed out of it. Double check with the manufacturer or the rental place to see what they recommend. Then go back and make sure all the valves, drains, bleeder valves are open halfway. On the backflow, you'll see that they are turned to a 45-degree angle. This allows all the air to go through and drain the water that's there, leaving them at a halfway open or 45 degrees. Then shut off the clock, put all the lids back on the boxes, get all your hoses and tools. Now, with these large systems, there's a lot of variances. So many things can be different. So the key is to get to know the properties that you're going to be blowing out. Get familiar with the shut off and drain, the clock, the location of everything. Take notes. That way you'll know what to expect next time you go in. If you don't know, if you're in there for the first time, be really observant. Pay attention to what's going on. There might be some surprises that you didn't expect. Hopefully this helps, and there's more to come in these other videos, so check them out, and I hope you like them. Thanks for watching.